What a lovely way to start the day, to hear the musical tones of a former champion, Gabriele Tarquini, former Grand Prix driver as well, and still absolutely passionate about motorsport. And welcome to our second session of the day here at Macau for the 71st Macau Grand Prix. It is the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour Free Practice 1, half an hour in prospect for the World Tour event of Macau, competing of course for the very famous Macau Guia race. There we can see the cars lined up, getting ready to take to the circuit for the first time on what is a very damp circuit. David Addison joins me in the commentary box. Alan Hyde here in the commentary box alongside David, and touring cars are always a bit of a highlight of our weekend for the Macau Grand Prix.
And this is a very busy grid, because it isn't just a round of, and indeed the deciding round of the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour. It is also championship deciding weekend for TCR Asia and TCR China. In the Chinese championship, Jason Zhang is 1 point ahead of Martin Chow. And in TCR Asia, 16 points split Zhang Zhendong from Max Hart. So you've got 3 championships on the line this weekend. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the Guia race and the World Tour itself, where Norbert Mikelic, Esteban Guerrieri, Ted Björk, Jan Alaché, Mikael Ashkona, and to a rather mathematical degree, Nestor Girolami and Santiago Urrutia are all the 7 that could possibly win it. But there's a lot else to look for. And of course, if any of those visiting drivers, if you like, get in strife or get involved in circumstances that can affect the World Tour, they're going to have quite a lot of impact on it.
Had to go to a smaller font to print out this lot because there are so many that are entered, and this is always one to savour. There are plenty of drivers that could triumph around the Guia circuit this weekend. We'll come to a few of them over the course of the next half an hour. But what they're dealing with, as we see just there in the foreground, is Davy Todd, who is one of the stars of motorcycle racing, and has just announced that he'll be riding this weekend with FHO team. The motorcycles not racing this weekend, not racing today. They will be racing this weekend, but not racing today because of these conditions. It's a bit wet, David.
Yes, it is improving a little, but the touring cars now, if you like, being the pioneers and trying to sweep some of the water away. The first session of the day for single-seaters was largely wet. It eased a bit, the rain came back. It is certainly better than it was an hour and a half or so ago, and the drivers now are exploring where the grip may or may not be. You're riding with Ted Björk then, in the Lincoln Co, out of the Lincoln Co Cyan Racing stable. Ted Björk knows his way around this circuit, so he's going to be one to watch. Only a free practice session, it's only half an hour, and the last thing the drivers need is to get into the wall, because of course if there's a stoppage, the clock ticks on down. Those in the World Tour, you could argue, are the better drivers, because that's why they are used by the teams and the manufacturers to do a World Championship. In TCR China and TCR Asia, you've got less experienced drivers, and if anybody could trip up, it could be one of them. So fingers crossed, this is going to be a trouble-free session.
I understand they pulled back the curtains this morning and said, it's turned out nice, hasn't it? Because this would have been a little bit of a surprise, not least for the motorcycle riders that would have been out first thing this morning at 7:45. But that session, the motorcycles do not race here at Macau when it's wet, and so all the circuit furniture was in place. They have extra cushioning around the barriers around the circuit, but that was being taken away. The motorcycle riders got the chance to have a slightly more leisurely breakfast this morning, and they'll be packing everything into tomorrow morning. So instead of free session today, they will have first thing tomorrow morning. But cars, well, they can compete. We've already had single-seaters. The FR cars have been around over 40 minutes, and it was only when we got to the end of their session that we started to see them meeting with the circuit furniture, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a sort of tipping point where drivers started to push that little bit harder, and in 1 or 2 cases too hard. Riding with Norbert Mikelic then, everybody onto a flying lap now, so even though there is a notional order, it's an irrelevant one because it's all come from an outlap. But Norbert Mikelic heads at a circuit that he knows, down now towards Lisboa, and we'll get to the braking zone for the corner in a moment, trying to avoid all the puddles. The road tapers the closer you get to the corner, curve on the inside, blind entry, narrow corner as well, so it's one of the most challenging corners on the lap, and it remains narrow through this next section from San Francisco, up San Francisco Hill. Mikolic then on his own, but Mikolic in the next to the Hyundai, quicker than anybody thus far within Sector 1.
And Norbert Mikolic, of course, claiming the title, the first title for the World Tour last year here at Macau. Just looking back on his results in the qualification race, is essentially the first of the races for the weekend. Won the race, and 8th place in the second race was enough to claim the title last year for Norby. And is, as you say, from the outlet, top of the times, first car out onto the circuit. And Mikolic has had success over such a long period of time here at Macau, dating all the way back to 2010, when Norby took his first success in a touring car around the Guia circuit here at Macau. But as they head up towards the right-hander, this is one of the pinch points on the circuit, where inevitably over the course of this weekend we will see cars coming into contact with the circuit furniture. But as David quite rightly said when we were talking about the single-seaters first thing this morning, a phrase you won't really hear this weekend is track limits, which is which is jolly good news, because the track limits are those distinctive, iconic yellow and black barriers right the way around the circuit.
Now, Norbert Mikolic, just to finish the point about him, he's only had 2 wins within World Tour this year, but he knows exactly how to win championships. He's been busy racking up the points. There is, of course, one other name that we ought to factor in. We'll get to him in due course on screen, but Rob Huff, who's been racing in the British Touring Car Championship and has had 11 wins around this circuit, not all in the gear race. There are some years where he's raced in the Touring Car Cup, which hasn't been the gear race. There are some years where both races have counted as the gear race, and other years where only one. So he has a given number of gear wins, but I think 11 is the total of victories around here from all of his touring car days. He is a real master of Macau. We'll see what he can do. I'm not necessarily convinced he's going to be fighting for pole position, but the reverse grid, the second race, the gear race itself, could well be another victory for him. We will wait and see. He drives for the Volcano Motorsport team after his season in the British Touring Car Championship.
There's a volcano on the side of the car as well, isn't there? It is a very impressive livery.
Nestor Girolami goes quickest, 2 minutes 55.2. You're riding with Esteban Guerrieri at the moment, and getting perilously close to the barriers there. Down towards Lisboa. There's not much rain, but there's an awful lot of spray still. And one of the other factors about the day is it is occasionally a bit blustery, and that wind could do with being there to get rid of the standing water.
Yeah, the other thing to mention, even when it's not raining like it has been for yesterday and today here in Macau, it's normally very humid. We are surrounded by water at Macau, so it is normally hot, it's normally humid, it's normally a bit hazy here as well. So unfortunately that rather adds to the problem of drying out the circuit nice and quickly. It's there's a lot of moisture in the air normally, let alone when it's been raining. So they know what they're doing. They know exactly what the conditions are going to be. It's going to be exciting to watch. And I'm glad that you mentioned Rob Huff first of all, because I don't want to be accused of being a huge Rob Huff fan, which I am, because around the streets of Macau, Rob Huff is just every lap exciting to watch. Just brilliant.
Yeah, got involved in a tangle, didn't he, last year, which ended up with the bonnet popping open, visibility obscured, and having to drop out of the race effectively. You've got here, though, Guerrieri in the Honda, the GOAT Racing team, Goriola's team, coming under attack. It's almost like a race battle, this, as the Lincoln Co lines up to make a move and goes through on the inside. Quite brave stuff there, because it wasn't the widest part of the racetrack. Guerrieri has to slot back into the queue now as he heads up the hill, heading up towards Donna Maria.
The touring cars do this, don't they? They squeeze through on that tight sort of uphill section of the gear circuit at Macau. Places that you wouldn't expect other drivers to try it, but it does work, it can work.
Absolutely right, yeah, cars almost breathe in, don't they?
Squeeze it through.
Yeah, it'll be fine, thread the eye of the needle. Down to the Macau hairpin, where you can't overtake. That's a given for all the car racing categories. No overtaking, because if you try and make a move there, you're never going to get round the corner.
It was Huffy, wasn't it, that said, if I've still got 2 wing mirrors at the end of a session, I'm not trying hard enough.
Yes, indeed. Let's see how he fares in this. He's got to get himself really into the reckoning, but proper times will come. Half an hour rattles by very, very swiftly indeed, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it's a long lap, particularly in these conditions. It's just 5 seconds shy of 3 minutes for the quickest lap here. So Girolami with a best lap time 2:55.2. Ted Bjork is second. Vicky Smutlitz is third as they stand after just 1 or 2 flying laps in this free practice session. They get free practice again later on this afternoon, half an hour. We have 1 qualifying session today. It is qualifying 1 for the single-seaters. Everyone else, free practice. And what they learn today may well bode well for tomorrow, because we've got a forecast of more rain tomorrow, but over the course of Saturday and Sunday, that's when we get into racing, qualification racing, and then racing Grand Prix day. The weather forecast is quite the opposite. It's from one end of the spectrum to the other. 30 degrees and full sunshine all day on Saturday.
Now, Nestor Girolami, the fastest by 2.7 seconds. How much you read into this in the wet is up to you, but it's Ted Bjork second, it's Norbert Mikulich third, and Rob Huff has now gone fourth ahead of Santiago Urrutia and then Marcin Hua. The best of those out of TCR China is the championship leader Jason Zhang, who is 8th. And then the best out of TCR Asia takes a little bit more unraveling, but I think it is Huang Doyun who is the quickest at the moment. And there aren't quite as many in the TCR Asia element as China. That's a strong with the 2 local championships, but even so, it does make a very, very busy grid.
It certainly does, and as you say, 30 minutes is very quickly going to be eaten up in this free practice session. If you bear in mind, we are looking at lap times now. Quickest lap time 2:52.5 for Girolami. Number 129, top of the times. There's going to be a fair bit of traffic now. Girolami with the wipers on. The bonnet came up for Rob last year. We didn't realise just how cracked the windscreen was as well, and the visibility. And already we've got a car with problems. That was the car of Santiago. Just getting. Did it get back onto the circuit?
Yeah, I think it bounced off the barriers pretty much.
Yeah.
It ran deep.
Bounced back on.
Yeah. Paul Ridgway in the background with the spectacles on, part of the Brains Trust for the Cyan Racing Lincoln Co team, studying all of his data. But yes, Santiago Urrutia getting himself sort of sorted out, but may well appear in the pit lane with a little bit of damage. The incident for Rob Huff happened here last year, didn't it? They all concertinas, and he felt, I think, that he'd been brake tested, got in the back of traffic because he was trying to help his teammate to win a championship.
He being the only touring car driver that has a Madame Tussauds waxwork in the local museum here, the Grand Prix Museum at Macau, is an amazing state-of-the-art thing to visit over the course of your Grand Prix weekend. I think it's open today and tomorrow, but not Saturday and Sunday. I can't remember if that's correct, but it's well worth a visit. Absolutely seamless for waxwork. We've got Eduardo Matara, who represents single-seaters and GTs, and Michael Russell, who represents motorcycles, and the likeness is eerie. Yeah, it isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Nestor Girolami fastest, but he's now into the pits. There, number 155 is Marcin Hua, 6th in the times at the moment, and we're almost at the halfway point. I'm really railing against saying that they are behaving themselves impressively at the moment, for fear that they will not. But yeah, we've got through without much drama. There, the Volcano Motorsport Audi, the Rob Huff, who will look to get through the traffic. His teammate is John Filippi, who's been a runner-up in the European Championship, TCR Europe. But Nestor Girolami it is, the quickest, and there he is in the pit lane then. Girolami, by the moment, 2.7 seconds. turns quicker than anybody else.
With 3 flying laps having been completed, just the out lap and 3 flying laps into the pit lane for the halfway points. Norbert Mikulits has just gone overall best in sector 3. Just how much they learned today, it will be interesting to see, really, because with the prediction of weather conditions for the course of this weekend to be completely split, wet today and tomorrow, and then dry for racing on Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be interesting to see, isn't it, how much is gained or gleaned over the course of this weekend. Certainly things could be upset for the course of this weekend if you end up having to have a car repaired, rebuilt. So a bit like a warm-up session on race day morning, it could cost you dearly and maybe not gain you an awful lot.
True enough. There to the pit lane, 36, that being Jason Zhang. Now he is the China Championship leader in his Lincoln coat that comes from the Teamwork Motorsport stable. So again, yes, we're focusing on the World Tour because that championship's on the line, but there is also TCR Asia, TCR China titles up for grabs as well. And Jason Zhang, who always goes pretty well around here. If you think back to when the local touring car championships kept the Guia race alive, Jason Zhang was always there or thereabouts, wasn't he?
Yes, and another driver on the world stage from the region is Marcin Hua, who has just gone overall best in sector 3. Overall best in sector 4, Ted Bjork currently in 4th position in this free practice session, but we are at the halfway point. 14 minutes and 10 seconds remain on the clock, and that is the 1.5 car Marcin Hua. He's had good success here at Macau over the years.
Yeah. There is Marcin Hua swimming along, and whoops, into the wall goes Zhang Zhendong. Yes, put himself mobile again. A little bit of debris on the road, but the road is clear. And that's a driver that knows his way around here. Zhang Zhendong, who's had 4 victories this season in TCR Asia, championship leader of TCR Asia. He's up against Matt Tarr. That is not what he needs to be doing. He needs to be keeping out of strife, but dramas for him. Zhang Zhendong recovers. So the Grande Elantra continues on its way. 13 minutes on the clock. Interesting, though, that these are cars that are able to bounce off the barriers and keep going. I
was going to say, yeah, the advantage of a bit of bodywork around you, it's yeah, it can be a bit forgiving, can't it?
But it's interesting where they're having the problems. The single-seaters largely contrive to do it at Lisboa, and here it's around the sort of Moorish police parts of the circuit where the touring cars are just carrying too much speed and understeering out wide.
There's some engineering brains. John Waterman just in the background, and also the engineer that engineered Jake Hill, the BTCC champion this year, Craig Pauling, just in the background. And it is great for this event. It's the end of the domestic season in the UK, and the top engineers and mechanics come out to Macau for this final meeting of the year and bring a huge amount of experience to this event.
That's the replay of the headbutting of the barriers from Zhang Zhendong, but able to get himself out of trouble. John Filippi is in trouble, and that is at Lisboa, is it not? He's gone up the escape road. So having said that the single-seaters were doing it there, John Filippi in the other Volcano Racing Audi has taken it upon himself to go and explore the outer limits of the circuit. No strangers at Macau, John Filippi, he's been here before, but brings out that yellow flag within sector 2, and now gets the car mobile once more.
Well, it's a bit more than just bodywork damage, isn't it? As the team go to work on Santiago's car. Be down there for a little while. So, oh, never a good sound when you've got the mallet out down in pit lane.
No, the hammer is being used deliberately. This is John Filippi doing the right thing. He turned in, realised he wasn't going to make it, and goes left and up the escape road, rather than not making the corner, but the trajectory putting him into the wall. So he did the right thing. And the only problem he's got now is effecting the 3-point turn, which very often turns into a multi-point turn, doesn't it? To get it back onto the circuit. Another yellow out on the track because Norbert Mikelic is now 0.6 of a second quicker, and the reason for the next yellow is that their Man Siu Ming is at the escape road in his Honda. That is another of the cars that comes from the TCR China Championship, the Evolved Racing Honda Civic Type R, the FK7 version. Got an FK7 and FK5s, FL5s rather, represented on the grid. So at the moment, it is Norbert Mikelic in the Hyundai, ahead of Ted Bjork in the Lincoln Co, and then third, Nestor Girolami's Hyundai. That's the order in the top three. 186 in the pits is Guerriero's Goat Racing Honda, and this is going to explain exactly why at the escape road went the Honda. Just went straight on there, never got slow enough to make the corner at all, did it? So Man Siu Ming tries to rejoin.
On board with Norbert Mikelic, Hungarian driver, coming to Macau in one form or another, in a touring car, part of the World Touring Car Championship and then the World Touring Car Cup, and now this TCR World Tour for many, many years here at Macau. And for so many years, there are so many historic pictures of someone claiming a world title at the end of the final race of the weekend, the Guia race at Macau. Not least, that man there, Rob Huff, claimed the title here at Macau in 2012. Emotional scenes as some of the family were here at Macau, some of the family watching, certainly Mum was watching at home back in the UK, but his dad Peter was here in Macau to enjoy the moment with Rob claiming a world touring car title. 9 Guia races is one here at Macau. It's an incredible record, isn't it, for Rob Huff?
It is. We're going full course yellow in order to retrieve a car. So full course yellow was coming up on the timing screen, and we are about 10 seconds away from the full course yellow period. So a car can be removed without the need to stop the session. Everyone slows down, and that will give the marshals time to work full course yellow now. I haven't seen many yellow flags going out, and FCY boards now are coming out. Yes.
I heard you.
Yeah, thank you. So it was called, and everyone will now slow, and that enables the circuit to be cleared rather than stop with 8 3/4 minutes to go. So the pit lane, one or two others set to get themselves back on track. Andy Yan out of TCR China, 72 there is the car of Juan Carlos Zhu An, and that's another Teamwork Motorsport Lincoln Co from the Chinese Championship. Quite a few electing to pit while the full course yellow is out because they can't really go any faster.
And John, make a few adjustments as well.
Yeah, John Filippi was one we saw at the escape road, wasn't he? And he is. And that's the reason for the full course yellow, that stuck on the escape road is Man Siu Ming's Honda. And he's now going the wrong way because he needs to try and spin it round if he can.
So Man Siu Ying gets the car going, and these little adjustments might just be to dial the cars a little bit better for the conditions that we have at the moment. Not necessarily dry conditions, but certainly with wet tyres and the amount of standing water. How are we doing over the other side of the circuit? Just take a view of the puddle that we had just opposite the commentary box, which is just by the starting gantry, and there is certainly less water, standing water on the circuit in front of us on this part of the circuit. Bear in mind, this is a long circuit, over 6 miles around the Macau Guia circuit.
Don't want to be a pedant.
Go on.
6 kilometres.
I beg your pardon, I said miles.
And that is relevant because I'm not running 6 miles. I don't be running 6 kilometres. I draw the line in this temperature at 6 miles, all right?
Uphill, downhill.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So the point that you make is that you have done it this year. You've run the whole of the circuit when the rest of us were sleeping and the milkman was coming round delivering milk. But it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it?
About 4:15 I set off, yes.
Goodness me.
Which I thought was the right time of day to do it because there wasn't much traffic, because of course the roads were open.
It's really difficult to walk during the day.
Yeah.
When the buses and the lorries and the vans are threading their way around the roads around Macau. It's you have to breathe in a couple of times, that's for sure.
And it was quite a sight for the locals as this funny tourist with head torches and lights adorning him. Yeah.
Well done.
Plodding around.
Well done.
Lots of sane people came out of casinos and
you were taking pictures, which was good.
A bit blurry, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. So, full course yellow rescinded, green flag is back out, 6 minutes are on the clock, and it does look drier. It is drying, the times are coming. Mikkel Ashkana is now fastest on a 2 minutes 51.3. Mikkel Ashkana in the next of the very rapid Hyundais. You've got this Hyundai versus Lincoln Co battle, really, as far as the two key brands, key teams, key manufacturers are concerned. Mikkel Ashkana, another driver with a very good track record at touring cars, and one mate touring car racing as well, having raced in the Audi TT Cup as well as Clios and Seats, but he was the World Touring Car Cup champion 2 seasons ago, and Ashkana then tops the times with 5.5 on the clock.
I was going to say, yeah, we're very much into the final part of this free practice section. They've got another free practice session. Local time, 1:45 this afternoon. That's scheduled to get underway, and the local time now here in Macau is just coming up to 22:11 in the morning. Wherever you are watching around the world, a very good morning, good afternoon to you, wherever you are. This is the first time that we've seen the TCR cars on circuit over the course of this morning. One session didn't happen first thing this morning because of the conditions. The motorcycles did not have their pre-practice session, but the cars, the single-seaters and the touring cars able to just push the water out of the way. Not so simple on a motorcycle. They haven't got any wet tyres here anyway.
No, exactly, yeah. And it's just another sobering thought that we've now had effectively 10 years of TCR regulations. It feels like it's not that long ago that TCR was created. But
you're right.
Marcello Lotti, who is here, the man behind TCR, at the end of its first season, of course, the Guia race was going to be for TCR cars. And there was a little bit of discussion about, is it going to be a good grid, and do we need to invite cars from other championships to boost the numbers? But no, it was all fine. Championship resolved, and it fitted into the format of the Guia race just as effectively as its forebears had done.
So 4 minutes remain, and we'll do an onboard lap around the circuit. A very damp circuit here at Macau. It's maybe a little bit drier than it was first thing this morning, which was 9:15 local time when the FIA FR World Cup single-seater cars went out on circuit. Now we've got potentially the slightly more protected cars of the TCR World Tour out on circuit. 3.5 minutes yet to go. Those windscreen wipers that are working away, very, very important indeed. The huge amount of spray that's being kicked up on the circuit, the tarmac, right, and not just one type of tarmac, all sorts of different tarmac. These are the roads of Macau. This is a road circuit, a road course, and there are parts of the circuit that have been recently re-tarmacked, the parts of the circuit that have got little bumps. That's what you have to deal with when you come to Macau, and every year it gives us the most thrilling racing. A circuit that just doesn't change from year to year.
And this part of it is, for my money, the best, because it is so wide, so fast, and then at the end is a real swine in the corner. This is part of the track where races are won and lost. 51 coming late on the brakes, Louis Fan, and he's under attack from Rainier in the Hyundai Elantra behind, and Rainier gets through on the run up now through San Francisco. 2.5 minutes of the session to go.
I think you can squeeze the town car through, can't you?
Although you do need the person that you're squeezing past to be compliant, and you can tell this is a free practice session rather than a race, because well at a race, Rainier would have made that a lot more.
After you, sir. Yeah, this is absolutely fine.
Yeah, in this session.
For now.
Yeah. We'll go with that, but in the race, it's going to be a bit more elbows out.
2 minutes to go in this first session of the weekend for Macau Guia race, and we are watching the number 2 car spend its way through. It's the car of Rainier.
Can I just wave the flag briefly for Martin Schär, because he is now 6th. So what, you might ask? Well, that means that Martin Schär is the fastest of those out of TCR China, the first non-World Tour regular. Everybody that's on the grid is part of a World Tour and can score points. Another car up the escape road. We'll get to that in a moment. Driver out, so that's his session done. He's gone a long way up the escape road, suggesting that might have been a problem that put him there. Yes, Martin Scher, as I say, the best of those out of TCR China. So a job well done. He dropped to 7th because Ted Bjork and Rob Huff are ahead of him now, but still not a bad effort by Martin Scher.
1 minute to go in this first free practice session of the weekend for the Macau Guia race and the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour events of Macau. And by and large, okay, we've still got 50 seconds yet to go. They're looking all right, aren't they? I know.
But you are right, and it's been a sensibly driven session, especially given that you've got a few drivers that, you know, are less experienced in touring car team terms than the regulars out of the World Tour. Watching some of the stars like Robert Miklish or Ted Bjork, Santiago Riccio at work, it is a masterclass of where you thread the car around the lanes here. So precise against the walls, the barriers and everything else.
Most of them have sort of eased off as we head up towards the checkered flag. Ted Bjork has put in a overall best sector in sector 3, and Girolami has just gone on to the final lap and puts a purple sector in sector 1 as well. So keep an eye on those two. Ted Bjork is going.
Yeah, they're the data that the teams are looking at. Checkered flag is out, so it's his last chance, this, for Ted Bjork. You're riding on board with him now as he comes towards the end of the lap then through Fisherman's Bend. Our bend is next, this fast, short straight, and then down to the end of the lap. So Ted Bjork 6th in the times. He needs to find 3 seconds to go top. I don't think that's doable, but he should be an improver. He's done 2 purple sectors, 2 absolute best out of the 5 sectors of the lap, and as he breaks the beam, Ted Bjork 2nd fastest, and he, well, I said he's not going to make up 3 seconds. He very nearly did. He only missed out by 0.175, so that was a mighty effort by Ted Bjork.
Right at the end, yeah, did a jolly good job of that, didn't he?
Absolutely.
2nd place, takes the checkered flag, first one to take the checkered flag of the top 16 times that we've got. So good time there for Ted. Heading into this weekend, lying 3rd in the standings of the TCR World Tour.
Started off as a sports car racer before touring cars came knocking, as the checkered flag is waved to Rob Huff, who ends the session 6th. The Volcano Motorsport car is yet to erupt as he would like it to, I suspect, but we'll worry about the real pace when we get to qualifying.
Came out to China a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? Did Rob Huff, and competed, and naturally we've been asking him for so many months, haven't we, back in the UK. So have you finalised your deal for Macau? You knew he was going to get something, it was just what he was going to be driving and for who. And having completed his first full year in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship back in the UK, first full season for 20 years after his exploits in World Touring Cars, claiming a world title and coming back as cool and as calm as you like to the BTCC and claiming 2 race wins over the course of the year.
Over the line goes Santiago Riccio, who improves in the final reckoning in terms of his time, stays 3rd fastest. It's not just spectacular liveries, it's spectacular costumes as well that adorn the pit lane. I'm not sure that's made out of Nomex, but even so, it's quite a costume.
Wasn't quite sure what I was looking at there.
This is Ted Bjork, who has taken the flag. So 2nd he was when he took the flag. He's on his in lap. Bit of sunshine, I think, over the part of the circuit there, coming out of Police up towards Don Maria. And that's another archetypal shot of Macau with the different lanes. So you've got race cars and then everyday traffic on the parallel road.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Up to the timing line here comes Sonny Wong, who ought to be a little bit higher up than he is. He's not really broken into the top 16 in this session. Gabriele Tarquini studies the stopwatch and goes to join the team on the pit wall, but with the session at an end, even though he's in the pit lane, Nestor Girolami then the fastest by just over 1/10 of a second. Track map on the dash there you can see for Norbert Mikelic. That's not because he doesn't know where he is, he doesn't know the circuit layout, far from it, but if he gets an instruction, yellow flag at turn 9, he can quickly look at his map and he knows what turn 9 is all about, and it's a quick reference point, but he certainly doesn't need that to tell him when to turn left or right. So the cars making their way down the pit lane. Nestor Girolami the fastest, with Martin Scher the fastest out of TCR China. TCR Asia is going to take me a little bit longer to unravel. There's nobody out of that in the top 16, which is what we have on our timing screen. So Max Hart only 24th overall, Huang Doyan 22nd, and Jason Zhang, who is the Chinese championship leader, he was 21st. So the drivers out of TCR Asia to be found, as I say, quite a long way down the order. Everybody getting the instruction then to remind them to head to the pit lane. You take the check flag twice, you find yourself in hot water with the officials. So everybody doing the right thing coming.
Also delays quite a few things.
Yeah. See how breezy it is because of the waves on the water there. But that's having to drive the circuit, but it has got very blustery.
Breezy is an understatement. Have you tried to use an umbrella today?
No, I don't do umbrellas, I wear a hat.
Yeah, no, good idea, because an umbrella was really hard work. Yeah.
No, umbrellas are pointless things because they blow away in the wind and you get a cold, wet hand anyway. Don't see the point. Put a hat on. Rant over. Down the pit lane then comes Norbert Mikelic, one of those 7 drivers in with a chance of leaving Macau as the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour champion. At the end of the session, Nestor Girolami is the quickest by 0.175 of a second over Ted Bjork, with Santiago Urrutia 3rd, Mikael Ashken a 4th from Norbert Mikelic, Rob Huff, Esteban Guerrieri 7th and 8th in the times, Martin Scher being the fastest of those out of TCR China. 9th fastest goes the way of Martin Cao, ahead of 10th quickest Marcin Ha, Marco Butti 11th from John Filippi, and then Dusan Borkovic reigning her 14th, Jan Erlacher a long way back, only 15th ahead of Andy Yan, and then Lo Si-ho. Then you get 18th fastest to Zheng Zhengdong. Juan Carlos Xu is 19th and 20th, David Xu.
Gabriele Tarquini, I'm slowly becoming your best friend this weekend. Bebu was fastest in that FP1. How was it for him, do you think?
I think it was a great session. I mean, he feel immediately that the car was working very, very good. We try to have different setup because we don't have a perfect setup for Macau, because normally that conditions are very unusual. So we swap setup on the car, we try 3 different setup, and it seems that Nestor setup is the best.
Good luck for FP2, thank you.